Alright, so what we have here is a repair job. Customer just dropped this off to me. It's a 1972 6 horsepower Evinrude, a model 6202 DJ. Customer said he picked it up, bolt, motor, and trailer for 300 bucks. Doesn't want to spend a lot of money, but like to get it running, not restored, just running. So I told him I'd see what I could do. So visual inspection on it looks good, pretty good. All the parts are there. So I'll make a video on bringing this one back to life. Of course, there's three things that we want to check. That's going to be compression, spark, and fuel. So let's go for compression first. It's not frozen, it does pull. So let's see if we got compression. Okay, I got my compression gauge hooked up to it. I'll give it 5 good pulls. £80 compression. That's good. So I say bump. Let's check the other side. Pulls on that side. And it's got 80 on the money. So 80-80 on both sides. It's ça c'est bon. Now let's check for spark. Alright, I got my handy dandy spark checker on the plugs. Let's give her a few pulls and see what if she got spark. No. Lower the gap a little bit. No spark on either side. So what I'm going to do before tearing into the magneto and checking the coils and all that, I'm going to measure ohmage at the end of the spark plug wire. See if I see 3,000, 4,000 ohms on each wire. That'll check the wiring. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, I got my digital voltometer. I'm going to set it on ohms. And I am going to take one lead and put it to ground. Anywhere's on the frame. I'll put it on the auto speed knob here. It's brass. It'll be a good connection. And we'll start with the top connector. Take the other end inside. And I see 3,800 ohms. So I'm seeing the coil through the wire on the top. And I'm looking at the bottom and I see no ohmage. No ohms on the bottom coil. So that tells me we either got a bad coil or bad wiring on the bottom. So now we're going to pull the flywheel off and get down into the magneto and take some measurements, looking for a coil or a wiring problem. Okay, I got the flywheel off. Here's the magneto. And I'm going to measure each coil. I'm going to take the leads off. There's the bottom coil. That's one of the primary leads. Alright. The other side of the primary lead is connected to the contact points right here. I'm going to lift those two off. And I should measure 1 ohm, less than 3 ohms. And then I'm going to get on the end of the spark plug wire for the top. And I should measure the secondary, which is 3,000 ohms. And we know it's not getting to the plug lead, so we'll see whether the trouble's in the wire or in the coil. And while I'm at it, I'm going to do the same testing for the top coil. So I'm going to disconnect the leads now and show you guys how to take the measurement. Okay, so I have all the leads involved in the wiring disconnected. I'll go over them with you one at a time. So this facing the motor, the coil in front is the top coil. So there's 2 coils on each coil. There's a primary and a secondary. Primary coil should measure 1, 2, or 3 ohms. Secondary coil should measure 3,000 to 4,000 ohms. So here's one lead that was laid down here, and here's the other lead for the top coil that was on the contacts. For the bottom coil, we have the same thing. Primary coil lead was laid down here. I took it off, and the other lead was laid down on the contact points. So we're going to take a measurement across those 2 leads for the primary coil, and then we'll take the meter and go from either lead to the end of the wire associated with that coil, which the one with the band on it is for the top, and that should read the secondary coil, which should be 3,000 or 4,000. So let's see what we get. Here's the voltmeter. I'll set it on ohms. Okay, we'll overload, meaning it's got no reading, and we'll check the top coil across this lead that was here, and then on this lead, which was laid down on the contacts. So those 2 leads measure 1.3 ohms. 1.3 ohms. So that primary coil, primary winding on that coil is good. Now we'll go from either one of those leads to the end of the spark wire for the top coil. Put your meter inside there, find that. And we'll get a reading of 3,800 ohms. The winding and the wiring on the top coil is good. Now let's go to the bottom coil. We'll go from that lead, which was laid down there, to this lead, which was laid down on the points, and we'll measure 1.5 ohms. That's the primary coil. That's good. Now, just like the top coil, leave one of the leads connected, go down to the wiring, the end of the spark wire on the second one, shove it down in there, and no reading. No reading. So we either have a bad wiring on the bottom spark plug wire, or the secondary coil is bad. So now I'm going to remove this coil and check the primary winding and secondary winding with it removed, and narrow the trouble down to either the coil or the wiring. Let me remove that coil now. Okay, so this was the bad coil. I'll put that aside. Here's another coil. It's not a brand new one. It's a used one. Let's check it and see if it's good. So, primary lead, primary winding is across these 2 leads, right? 1.2 ohms. And then from either lead down into the output up to the spark plug wire, and I get 3,900 ohms, which I didn't get on the old coil. So this is a good coil. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it, see if that helps our spark problem. Okay, I got the replacement coil in, not tightened. Trick now is to set the coil in the right position with this coil positioning ring. Part number is 317001. Slip it over everything and push the coil out, which position it in the right spot along the armature. And then tighten it down. I'll snug it up on both sides. Alright, let's take the ring off. Let's take some measurements. So we did not have any ohmage down into the boot here. And guess what? Now we have ohmage down to the end of the spark plug wire. That's how you check wiring and coils on an ignition system. So now, while I got it opened up, I'm going to clean the points with a file, and then we'll put it all back together to see if we created spark. So I decided to clean the points with a points file and a piece of 1000 grit sandpaper, and also check the timing with the timing tool. I have a video in my playlist on how to do all this, so I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to check the timing and the points. See, I'm measuring 600 ohms, 616,000 ohms. I'm supposed to be measuring 0, which means that I just got to clean the points in there. Here I go. So I ran my points file through it, and I'm seeing 1 ohm, which is what I'm supposed to see. Now I'm going to check the timing, see if the timing's right. So I'm seeing 1 ohm when this mark on my timing device gets in between these two lines on the magneto. That should open right there, and it does open. See the 1 ohm? And it goes open, and my timing light is right in between those timing devices, right in between those two lines. So that's good. Let's check the other side. Same thing, this one's not measuring 1 ohm. I gotta clean the points. Clean it with a points file, and you get them at Napa or AutoZone for less than $10. Still measuring like 4 ohms. I'm gonna clean it with some sandpaper. Now I got 1 ohm. That's right. Let's see if the timing's right now. Yep. Timing opens right when when the mark reaches in between. Alright, I got the magneto back together, flywheel placed, got my spark plug, checker hooked up. Let's see if we got spark. Yeah, baby, got spark. Let's see if she starts now. Put some gas to it. Alright, so it runs, but it ain't running right. Shouldn't have to choke it after it's warmed up. So, I'm going to go, it's been sitting for over 10 years. I'm going to go ahead and clean that carb. I guarantee it'll run good. And, he wanted me to change the impeller. Even though it is pumping water, I'm going to change the impeller. Alright, we got the carburetor cleaned and put back in, and guess what? Okay, got the impeller changed out. New gaskets. Ready to do a test run on her. This is a warm start. She's been running. Let's see how she does. Hope you enjoyed the video. Here at Team Bikes Vintage Outboards, we're doing it one motor at a time. Please click on subscribe. I guarantee to provide weekly videos. Au revoir mes amis, and laissez les bon temps rouler.